The story begins not with a single crime, but with a pattern of wealth moving quietly through financial systems, of influence flowing through private rooms, of names appearing in places where transparency was never meant to exist. The Epstein files did not arrive all at once. They emerged slowly, fragmented, sealed, redacted, delayed. Each document hinted at something larger, something deliberately obscured. According to records, Jeffrey Epstein was not merely an individual accused of crimes, but a figure positioned at the intersection of money, power, and silence. For years, Epstein lived a life that appeared untouchable. Properties in multiple countries, private aircraft, access to elite social circles, and relationships with powerful individuals across politics, finance, academia, and royalty. Reports suggest that his wealth was both substantial and unusually opaque. Unlike traditional financiers, his business model remained unclear. Documents indicate that even seasoned investigators struggled to determine how his fortune was generated, who funded it, and who benefited from it. Financial records show accounts spread across jurisdictions known for secrecy. Shell companies appeared and disappeared. Trusts were established with limited disclosure. According to court filings, questions about the source of Epstein's money were raised repeatedly, yet rarely answered. This financial fog became a protective barrier, insulating him from scrutiny while enabling a lifestyle that defied conventional explanation. Power, in this context, did not always announce itself. It whispered. It appeared as invitations, introductions, access. Epstein was reportedly a connector, a facilitator, someone who could place individuals in the same room without leaving fingerprints. Flight logs, contact books, and calendars later revealed an extraordinary network. Politicians, business leaders, scientists, entertainers, and foreign dignitaries all appeared in proximity, though proximity alone does not imply wrongdoing. Still, the breadth of the network raised persistent questions. According to investigative reports, Epstein cultivated relationships with people of influence not through public events, but through private settings, islands, townhouses, private jets, secluded estates. These were spaces beyond cameras and records. Documents indicate that such environments created conditions where accountability was minimal and discretion was expected. Silence became currency. The first criminal case against Epstein in the mid-2000s introduced the public to only a fraction of what would later be revealed. Court documents show that allegations involved the exploitation of underage girls, yet the resolution of that case stunned observers. A plea agreement, later described in legal analyses as unusually lenient, effectively shielded Epstein from federal prosecution at the time. According to records, the agreement also extended protections to unnamed associates, a detail that would later draw intense scrutiny. This legal outcome reinforced the perception of untouchability. Reports suggest that victims were not informed of key decisions. Documents indicate that prosecutors exercised extraordinary discretion. At the time, the full rationale was not publicly explained. Years later, when the agreement became widely known, it was cited as a symbol of how power can bend justice quietly, without spectacle. Silence followed. For nearly a decade, Epstein resumed his life with minimal interruption. According to flight logs, travel continued. According to property records, assets remained intact. According to social accounts, connections persisted. The absence of consequences sent a message, intentional or not, that some systems respond differently depending on who stands before them. The files that later surfaced began to erode that silence piece by piece. Civil lawsuits, unsealed depositions, and investigative journalism brought forward names, timelines, and contradictions. Documents indicated patterns of behavior and institutional failures. Yet even as information accumulated, clarity remained elusive. Many records were heavily redacted. Others referenced individuals without context. Some testimonies conflicted. The truth appeared fragmented, scattered across jurisdictions and years. According to court filings, several victims described recruitment methods that relied on trust and manipulation rather than force. These accounts suggested a system that normalized abuse through repetition and reward. While each testimony stood on its own, together they painted a picture of an environment engineered to suppress resistance and discourage exposure. The role of institutions became a central focus. Universities, financial firms, law offices, and foundations all appeared in the periphery of the files. Records indicate donations, advisory roles, and partnerships. In many cases, these relationships were legal and disclosed. In others, documentation was incomplete. Questions arose about due diligence, about what was known and when, and about whether curiosity was deliberately limited. Media coverage evolved over time. Early reports were sporadic, often cautious. Later investigations became more aggressive, driven by newly available documents and renewed public interest. Journalists uncovered inconsistencies in official narratives and highlighted the gaps left unexplained. Still, many questions remained unanswered, not because they were unasked, but because the records stopped short. In 2019, Epstein's arrest on federal charges reignited global attention. According to official statements, the case was built on extensive evidence and victim testimony. The detention of a figure long perceived as protected marked a dramatic shift. Yet even then, the story did not resolve cleanly. Epstein's death in custody, officially ruled a suicide, introduced a new layer of uncertainty. Reports noted procedural failures, documents cited lapses in supervision. Public trust fractured further. With Epstein gone, the files took on new significance. Depositions were unsealed. Names previously hidden entered public discourse. Some individuals denied wrongdoing. Others declined comment. According to legal experts, the release of documents did not equate to findings of guilt, but they did illuminate connections that had previously existed only as rumors. The concept of silence expanded beyond Epstein himself. It encompassed settlements with non-disclosure agreements, institutional reluctance, and the slow pace of accountability. According to records, several civil cases concluded without admissions of liability, leaving narratives unresolved. Financial compensation occurred, but explanations often did not. Power dynamics remained central. The files suggested that influence operates most effectively when it is invisible, not through overt threats, but through incentives, dependencies, and shared interests. When reputations, fortunes, and institutions are interconnected, disruption carries a cost. Silence in such systems becomes a rational choice. International dimensions further complicated the story. Epstein's travels, properties, and contacts extended beyond U.S. borders. Jurisdictional limits constrained investigations. According to legal analyses, cooperation between countries was inconsistent. Some records remained inaccessible due to foreign secrecy laws. The global nature of wealth and influence ensured that no single authority held the entire picture. As more documents entered the public record, patterns emerged without definitive conclusions. Repeated failures to act, repeated opportunities missed, repeated warnings that did not translate into intervention. Reports suggest that the system did not collapse suddenly, but eroded slowly, one compromise at a time. The Epstein files do not offer a single revelation that explains everything. Instead, they present an accumulation, a ledger of associations, a map of access, a record of how accountability can be delayed, diluted, or deflected. According to historians of power, such cases are rarely about one individual alone. They are about environments that enable behavior while insulating themselves from consequence. Even now, many questions remain unresolved. What exactly did various institutions know? How did financial mechanisms obscure responsibility? Why were certain investigations curtailed while others were never opened? Documents indicate possibilities, not certainties. The absence of full answers continues to fuel speculation, mistrust, and demands for transparency. The legacy of the Epstein files lies not only in what they reveal, but in what they withhold. Redactions signal sensitivity. Sealed records suggest ongoing concerns. Silence persists, not as an absence of sound, but as an active force shaping what can be said and what cannot. In the end, the story is less about a single name and more about a system where power accumulates quietly, where money moves without explanation, and where silence is often rewarded. According to records, the files remain open, both legally and symbolically. They stand as a reminder that some truths surface slowly and others remain buried, not because they are lost, but because uncovering them would require confronting structures far larger than one man. The documents continue to exist, waiting, in archives, in court databases, in sealed boxes. Each page represents a moment where something could have changed, or where it did not. The unanswered questions linger, unresolved, suspended between what is known and what may never be fully revealed.